The Self-Aware Millennial.
Okay, All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Self-Aware Millennial podcast. I am your host, J.Mix. This week, I am joined by my amazing actor friends, Claire Frederiksen and MJ Battley, to discuss how they and I are navigating the performing life during this never-ending pandemic. So, this is certainly not the case for all artists, but I know that I have had a hard time continuing to perform in the ways that I have been accustomed to for the last 14 years, which was primarily on stage with a few film and TV gigs here and there. This COVID-19 pandemic has given me a lot of time to think, and in turn, it has changed my outlook on what I want to do with my gifts. Now, I'm not too sure if I want to return to the stage or if I want to do screen work at the moment. So I'm not really doing anything right now. But thanks to this podcast and all the passion projects I've been working on since last year, I've realized that I find much more fulfillment in creating my own works. But that's where I am right now. So I'm so happy to have Claire and MJ here joining me. Just to kind of get into how we know each other, I did a production of The Full Monty with Claire back in 2013, and that was a very interesting show. We could totally talk about that for a little bit. And MJ was my scene partner for the acting for camera class this summer with No Dream Deferred. We were scheduled to perform a cool scene from the play. It was called Trust, and I was a dominatrix, and MJ was basically just like this filthy rich client that was looking to buy love and, you know, from my character, which was very interesting. And then that's when I fell ill, and I felt so bad that I couldn't be there. I was like in that hospital, like, I want to do the scene. And I'm like, I wonder what they're doing without like all that. So anyway, but yeah, that's kind of the culmination of how we know each other. Claire, let's talk about Full Monty for a little bit, because that was I just remember, at least when we did Full Monty, I remember having a great time because of you and like Morgana, and like just our dynamic was really nice. Yeah, and I think that's what I remember. I don't even remember the show. I remember like just how much fun we were having.
Yeah, I remember the connection that we had, like mostly the ladies in the show. Yeah. How fun that was and how goofy the show was. But also I don't really remember a whole lot about the show. I remember there was someone that stomped out of a rehearsal one time, and that was funny, but I don't remember the details. I feel like we talked about that a bit.
I don't remember that either, but that sounds like that sounds very appropriate for the place that we were working at.
Yes, absolutely. There was a lot of underwear. I remember we did some like swinging of panties. There was a lot of underwear thrown.
Yeah, it was a strip show, or like it ended in stripping. So
yes.
But I just don't remember why the guys that were in the show like ended up stripping. I don't remember the plot.
I don't remember the plot of the show.
Yeah,
which is bad, and I should have looked at that probably.
No, it's okay. You don't have to know. Okay. I mean, somebody's gonna be listening to this, gonna be like, "How do you not remember for Full Monty?" Mm-hmm. That's like the easiest strip show to remember, but that's okay. That's okay.
We know it involves stripping.
Yeah,
you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about because I believe you just moved back here from New Orleans, and not from New Orleans. Duh, you were in LA.
To New Orleans. I just moved back to New Orleans from LA.
So when you were in LA, you were doing mostly acting, or were you kind of like doing the actor's life where you do other things besides acting?
It was definitely a lot of the actor's life. So I went to grad school for 2 years, and then from there I was like, do I want to go to New York, or do I want to go to LA, or do I want to go back to New Orleans? And after experiencing the Boston winter for 2 years, I was like, I have to go to a place that's warm, and I decided to go someplace that I'd never been. So I did LA. And I was doing the actor's life for sure, working at restaurants, doing, you know, like assistant jobs and like random everything smattering of all of these things, making them all work. And then auditioning for TV and film and doing some stage stuff. Mostly it was stage stuff with friends, like from my grad program, a lot of immersive theater, which was cool. I'd never done that before.
Wait, what's immersive theater? I don't know if I've heard of that.
Immersive theater is like the audience is involved. They're part of the show.
Oh.
So it was cool. It was cool. We did like an immersive high school reunion, which was neat. So you got to pick like which character you wanted to follow.
Okay.
So that was cool. And it was a lot of high school drama. So people got to latch on to whichever high school drama story they wanted to follow around for the night. And alcohol was involved, and that was fun. And then we did another one that was, I can't remember the name of it, but it was like when couples break up, then they go to a place where they assess their relationship and figure out whose fault it was.
Oh, wow.
And it was this whole make-believe world. But the audience was part of that. So they had to like, it involved virtual reality. So they got to view the relationship through both this was like, the relationship was like between a man and a woman, and the audience got to view like the man's view and then the woman's view, and then decide whose fault it was that it ended. And
right.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Wow.
So that was most of my theatery things that I did in LA.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then the pandemic happened, and then I was working at 2 restaurants, lost those jobs. 2 restaurants, my dream.
Right.
All of our dreams.
I did that for a little bit. I worked at 2 restaurants. Were you like a server at one and like something else at another, or were you server at both? Or
yeah, I was a server at both, and then also a food runner. Well, I was a food runner, a host, and a server at one, and then a server at another one.
My goodness.
So, living that dream. And then the pandemic happened, and then I was like, this is not my dream. These were not my dreams. What am I doing with my life? And then I came back here.
And now you're here.
And now I'm here. Yay.
And now you're here podcasting.
Yes. And I love it. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy you're here too.
Yay.
Yay. Let's talk to MJ for a little bit, because MJ is one of my newer friends. I just met MJ like 2 months ago, maybe around 2 months ago. We did the acting for camera class. But this is actually the first time, if you're watching on YouTube, that we are in like an actual like remote location doing this interview, which is weird to me. I'm just getting used to it. But also, this is the first time MJ and I are seeing each other in person for like the first time. We've only known each other like through virtual until today.
Yes, life without Zoom.
Yes,
it's real.
It's weird, but it's like very familiar. So I'm so happy that you were able to make it, and just kind of give a quick little background on like, what you do.
Oh my Lord. Okay, what do I do? I will say that I'm an actor first and foremost. That's why I'm here. I'm a creative.
Yes.
Backstory, I graduated from UL Lafayette, Raging Cajuns, go Cajuns, IE, in film and theater. And so, IE, what's up?
Yeah, you got to put all that in there.
Yeah, and so, I've done a little bit of everything. I've done photography, I've done film, I've worked behind the scenes and doing production work. I was even a news photographer for a little while, and it was good. I was competent, but it wasn't where my passion was. And so eventually I choose to leave that, continue to do stage, film, commercial, whatever's clever that I can get my hands on. And I'm just kind of hustling and trying to make it just like everybody else.
Yeah. Well, how's it feel being like here in the city, New Orleans? Like, since you only come here for visits usually, how do you feel like being here like right now?
Oh man, I wish Lafayette was not Lafayette. I mean, Matt loves Lafayette. I wish New Orleans was my reality. Like, I just love the vibe. I love the creativity. I love the heart. There's so many people ready to connect and ready to hustle and ready to make it happen. And so I envy that. I'm like, every time I creep in, I want to stay longer. Yeah.
Well, you have us.
Mm-hmm.
So, you already got the connection. So just whenever you're ready to make the move, we got you. Okay.
All right.
So I kind of wanted to quickly just also talk about the scene that we did for acting for camera class, just because I just want to reminisce on it for a little bit.
You were Prudence.
I was Prudence.
I don't remember my name. I was just Rich.
Wait, what was your name?
I don't even remember. What was my name?
I
want to say Henry.
It wasn't.
That could be
Henry.
Wrong.
Oh, I don't remember. That's sad. Anyway.
I thought you were telling her she was wise. Like you were using the word prudent and
Oh,
being
no.
like, you
No,
were
the
so
character-
wise in our
character's name
scene.
was
And I was like,
Prudence.
okay.
Prudence, the dominatrix.
Yeah.
Yes.
And basically what happens is like, they
We knew each other in high school.
Yes.
Yes.
But he books a session with Prudence or whatever Prudence's actual like dominatrix name was, which I can't remember at the current moment. And then that's when MJ's character is like, I know you. And then I'm like, oh, dang, like, oh. But the scene that we did was like kind of going, it was like further along where like MJ's character.
It was like a strange seduction / negotiation,
almost,
Pretty Woman vibes.
Like, I'm supposed to be the dominatrix, but like, yet he was trying to dominate me. His character's trying to dominate me. And, you know, like, that's where like the power dynamic kind of switched, I guess. And I think that's what we were trying to portray, which was why Lakeisha, I think that's why she wanted to do that scene, just because like there was such a, where there had to be a switch.
It's strange the title was Trust, of all things.
Yeah.
Like, for the subject matter. But yeah, I think I was a filthy rich guy who was unhappy in his relationship. That person who made it in his mid-30s and was unsatisfied, wasn't really satisfied, happy with his marriage or with his success. He was bored with it. And then I see my dream girl, who I used to doodle pictures of her particular nose. It's in the monologue. And I'm like, okay, I have a chance to be with her again, and she's a dominatrix, and you bring all this wild excitement into my life, and I'm basically trying to negotiate you into mine. Like, I see an opportunity to kind of tap in, I seize it, and kind of goes from there.
Yeah, MJ's character is like, I'll give you $20,000 if you'll make love with me. And I'm like, what? Excuse me? And then it's like up to like $30,000. Also, the scene before that, like MJ's character's wife had like made out with Prudence.
Yeah, because you're supposed to help our marriage.
Right.
Yes.
But yet the wife is it's a crazy play.
Wait, question.
Yes.
How are you supposed to help their marriage?
How is Prudence supposed to help the marriage? I think it was more along the lines of Prudence was just trying to. So there's a dynamic when, especially with sex workers, where like there's a lot of people that come in to like as clients that are just looking for almost like some sort of therapy situation. Like the sex workers sometimes become the therapist where they just kind of like tell everything to that person.
Got it.
So in this situation, I think that's kind of what was happening.
I see.
At least in the scenes before. There another layer to this whole play was that Prudence also has an abusive boyfriend.
Oh,
and they had some small information about that. I believe like the boyfriend also like confronted MJ's character and like threatened to kill him or something. Yeah. Like there's a whole lot that happened in this little play.
Your character is probably the best. Well, the women in the show in particular, those are like the two really like most dynamic, fun characters.
Yeah.
I think Monty was your boyfriend.
Yes.
Was Prudence's boyfriend. I almost felt more sadness for him to a certain degree because my character, he's just basically like this like poor little rich man who's unsatisfied. Everybody else, there's like a certain level of struggle or like uncomfortability with where they're at, but he's the only person that actually has the ability to change it. But he tries to change it through other people versus trying to figure it out for himself. So
right. Yeah. And even at the end of the play, spoiler alert, I believe they like meet up in Hawaii.
Yes.
Prudence, and MJ's character, they meet up, and I believe like he tries like one more time to woo her, and she was just like, no, and it ends.
Yeah,
that was
She's
it.
not here for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was that. Wow, I didn't realize we were gonna like. Okay, so if anyone needed like a SparkNotes version of Trust, there you go. If you
want to see Trust on Broadway, off Broadway, we're not there anymore. We were never there, but it's a good read. It's a good listen.
Oh man. Well, let's get into the ponytail segment, which if you are familiar with, the audiences, obviously the listeners are familiar with it at this point, but ponytails, if you're just joining us for the first time, is spelled T-A-L-E-S, ponytails, T-A-L-E-S. And it's an icebreaker segment where I ask my guests to tell a tale with themselves, with a ponytail in their head. So let me say that again. I'm going to say that again. Ponytails with tail spelled T-A-L-E-S is an icebreak segment where I ask my guests to tell a tale about themselves with a ponytail in their head. At this moment, I'm going to give everyone a chance to put ponytails in their head if they would like. I'm going to do that too. Just give me a moment.
My goodness, I don't think I'm able. There we go. You got some clothes
I have a ponytail holder. Yeah.
Let's see if this is going to work.
Yeah, hold up. 1 second.
I can pass it.
Let's see. Oh,
this
might actually work.
Pass the ponytail.
Oh,
yeah.
Lord.
Curls
in the
Don't
air.
worry, we don't have to keep it up.
I have alfalfa vibes right now. Okay.
Yes. I'm gonna do a side pony.
Oh,
That's
You
my
said you
thing.
had like three tales.
3 tales. Oh, I have 3. Yeah, I have 3 optional stories.
Which one's the juiciest?
Well, wait, hold on. I haven't even
sorry.
said what the ponytail is
Oh
yet.
my
Oh,
God.
yeah. Oh, spoiler
Hold on,
alert. Spoiler
y'all.
alert.
Okay, the ponytail question of the day, the night, whenever you're listening to this or watching this, is to tell a tale about your worst audition. And I don't remember much about my worst audition because I don't have any like bad auditions, no, I'm just playing. I had one audition that I can remember that I just remember not doing well. And I was like, this was a bad audition. And that was like never it was out of my character it was out of my character to have a bad audition. So when this happened, I was like, what was going on in my life at that point? But it was for Jesus Christ Superstar. The third time I did it, it was being done at Le Petit Theater, and I think I auditioned for it, and I don't remember. I just remember the audition being bad, or like I was trying to sing something and it just wasn't coming out right, and I thought to myself, this is just not gonna work. And that's all I can remember. I didn't even get a call back. I was like, dang. So yeah, that was my worst audition. I don't remember much from it, but yeah. I was gonna say more about like the whole experience, but I'm gonna keep that out.
Don't want to out anybody.
No.
Keep it to yourself.
Yeah,
Respect.
keep it to myself.
All right.
So which one? Who wants to go next?
I guess I'll go. Let's see. I have 3 tales. I'll book roles, guys, but I have 3 tales. Let's see. I think I'm going to tell you about the one in the middle, the one that stands out. This is a few years ago, so it has some history. I'm removed from it. I had to audition for this short project. It was like a web series, but it was a short project at the time. And they wanted to go against type because the role was that of a killer, like a menacing, threatening, dangerous killer. I don't know if y'all get that vibe, but you're safe. They didn't really get that vibe. And so I had to basically be like the muscle who beats up, threatens, kills a guy, real creepy. Usually you would go with somebody who's actually buff and scary, but they said, no, we'll go against type. And so I drove out, I did my work. Like I was very young. Like I probably don't do as much work now. Like when I'm reading a script or learning it, but I had like The Power of the Actor book, and I was outlining and making notes, and I had a whole backstory for the character. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna be like menacing. I'm gonna keep it calm, cool, work with my strengths, augment my weaknesses. And so I showed up. There's a wide array of people. And there have been a few times when I've auditioned for stuff and I find my doppelgangers, my twin brothers I didn't know I had. But this was like a wide array. We're talking black, white, tan, big, small, thin. I'm like, okay, so anybody could get this. I go in and I'd only had maybe 3 face-to-face auditions at that particular time. But I walk in, everybody just sitting there, like maybe 8 or 9 guys all in a row. I smile, I say hello, I get nothing back. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I had one friend in the audience, and he smiled, he was nice. Everybody was nice in general. It was a good experience to a degree. But I started doing my scene, and I work it out. I've got all my head work, and I actually excelled. I felt really good about it, but I couldn't hear a pin drop. And they said, can you do it one more time? I said, okay, I'll do it one more time. And I get no feedback, no smiles, no positive energy, no negative energy, just neutral, flat. I'm like, okay, I'm kind of needy for love right now, but I'll make it work. They said, well, thank you. You can go and we'll get back to you. I'm like, okay, did I do something wrong? I mean, I'm not the killer type. I'm really not the killer type. Have I ever played a killer? No, I've been killed. But I'm not the killer type. And so I go and I drive away. I live my life. I didn't hear back. I'm like, okay. I go on Instagram and I'm thinking to myself, maybe one of the guys got it. Because there was nobody was menacing at this particular audition. Nobody was menacing. And I see the stills and the part that I auditioned for, big, buff, brawny, scary, menacing. I was like, maybe they just were settling or something. And I ran into one of the guys who was doing casting. He was like, no, your audition was actually really, really great. But when we saw what we could, when we found what we were looking for, we just kind of went with it. I was like, okay. And so it was a bit of a lesson. I was like, okay, I did all the work. It was good. But usually, like, if you know that something's not really your type, I mean, by all means, try it. Go for it. But I was like, okay, if people have a chance to go with a particular type or a particular thing, they're going to try and make it happen. So it wasn't the worst thing. I just would have liked to know that I did good. Because I did a whole bunch of work, and I was like, did they like it? Was I bad? Did I just embarrass myself?
Is your love language words of affirmation?
It's a twofer. I'm a quality time, words of affirmation. I think at this point in my life, I probably do need some words of affirmation because there's a certain level of rejection that I'm getting on and off from time to time. Yeah. And that's okay. I knew what I was getting into when I signed up for this, but yeah, I appreciate any kindness I can get.
Well, you're doing a great job.
Well, thank you.
That was a great story.
Hopefully it was riveting. I think I got some laughs.
I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can hear everyone laughing now.
Okay.
You know, they
I
gonna
was
be
laughing.
Okay.
If y'all were actually laughing, please make sure you let us know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Give us those words of affirmation.
Yeah.
For MJ.
Positive encouragement. We need it.
yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Maybe that was good here too. Okay.
Well, let's hear from Claire. Let's see if you have a worst
Yeah.
audition that you can at least remember. You know, sometimes it's so traumatic you forget trauma sometimes because it's so traumatic. But maybe something.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I've had a lot of not great auditions where it's I've been like, but what did they think? I'm confused. I'm confused. I think the one that stands out to me was actually I was auditioning when I was out in LA so we had a showcase. After my grad program was over, we had a showcase and they had managers and agents come. And one guy whose name, if I did remember it, I wouldn't say it, but I don't remember his name, owned a management company and he contacted people he wanted to come in and audition for him. And I was one of those people, like we did scenes. Then he was like, oh, I want this person to come and audition. So we had to do a monologue and I got in there and he was like, okay, what do you have for me? And I thought it would be more chill, I think, because he had already seen us do the scenes for this showcase. So I thought it felt like the vibe of what a callback would be because I felt like I had proved myself to him in a way like, oh, I'm not the worst person or the worst actor. But I think maybe he didn't view it that way. But I went in there and it was kind of a weird, creepy vibe because it was just like me and him in his office and like this big table. And he asked what I was going to do. And I don't even remember what I did. But he, like, before I started, like, took his feet and put them on his desk. What? And then it was just like, whenever you're ready. And it just, it was just the grossest feeling. And I feel like he wasn't looking at me. It was just a gross vibe. So I know that's not necessarily what we were going for with this story, but that's just something that like stands in my mind as like, just like very uncomfortable audition vibes. Didn't feel good. Didn't feel respectful, and like, no, thank you.
You say he took his shoes off and then put it on the table.
I don't remember if he took his shoes off or not. I just have a very specific memory of like him having a chair and like backing up a bit and putting his feet like on the table while I was doing this monologue for him. And auditions are already hard enough, and then like having the person receiving your audition or viewing it, whatever, be like, this is my living room and I'm watching television is just like, pretty gross. And then I think the lady who was his business partner came in after and was looking at my headshot and resume, and my hair was very, very blonde at the time. And she like looked at my headshot and was like, this isn't your natural color. And I was like, no, it's not. And my natural color is like darker blonde. And she was like, oh, interesting. I mean, I feel like you have more of a like Aaron from The Office vibe. So like, why are you doing that as your color? So it just felt like a disgusting experience. Whoa. And then they were also like, it just felt like a very what stereotypically you would think of as LA, you know, like.
Yeah, that's so LA. I mean, I've never been to LA, but that's so LA.
So that was like right after I made the decision to move there. So it kind of put like a weird taste in my mouth. Yeah. And I certainly didn't have many experiences in LA like that, but that was a weird one to start off the experience.
Bro,
you know,
that reminds me of when I did my Lion King audition in New York a couple of years ago, and they were like, I put on my resume something along the lines of like, no, that's what it was. It was I said this on a previous episode, I think with Rachel. We were talking about like fat phobia in the performing arts or something like that, and I mentioned auditioning for. It wasn't fat phobia, but it was something about performing arts. Anyway, I was at the audition at the callback, and I was just enamored by the accompanist. They were playing that music, that sheet music that I had been singing for like at least 2 years at that point. Like I had never heard it before. And I was just like, wow. And like everybody's just at the table, you know, like at that little long table. And, you know, I comment, I was like, yes. And they were like, well, welcome to Broadway. And then like, I was like,
let me have my joy.
yeah, let me have my time. But anyway, that's what that reminded me of.
Yeah. It's not the greatest feeling.
No.
You want to hear a quickie?
Yes.
This is really random. Okay. This is probably the real worst audition, but I ain't going to out nobody. But it was actually, I came here and it was my first in-person audition, you know, things that lightened up, pandemic-wise. And so I was like, okay, I'll come in, I'll audition. And I was excited. It was a simple script, simple audition, whatever's clever. This guy went in ahead of me. He was singing his heart out. He did it was just regular acting, no singing, but he just had to add a little talent, add a little pizzazz.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, they must be really loving him. I'm going, ooh ah. He walks out, I walk in. I ain't gonna sing no song. I know a couple of tunes, but I wasn't singing nothing. I walk in. I'm thinking I might get like a lot of positive energy or whatnot. The whole room was dead. I got like one smile. And I think in general, as an actor, you just simply want people to be as excited to see you as you are to be there.
Yeah.
Like it's a business, but if you can just give me a little nudge that I'm in the right direction or that things are good, you know,
Yeah.
it'd be good. But I'm listening to them. They're like, that is not how you do an audition. Talking about the other guy. That is not how you do an audition. Da, 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 da. Just like,
Oh.
and I was like, good. Okay. And then out of nowhere, they're having that side conversation, and then they smile and look at me like, hi.
Oh, no.
And that's somebody else's story. Well, that's part of my story as well. I was there too. But it wasn't the greatest audition. I think I flubbed on one line, recovered, did get a call back, never heard anything from it. It's okay. But it's just like you want to like connect with people and work with people who want to work with you and are excited for you to be there. And so,
Yeah.
and I think my very first in-person audition experiences were like very positive, and like they gave me notes and I ended up booking those roles, and like those are like independent artists who like wanted to be there and wanted me to be there.
Yeah.
And so it's like good vibes are everything.
Yeah.
You know.
I feel like this is like a low key, like for casting directors. I hope they are listening to these testimonials.
Yeah.
I mean, I might be a casting director someday. Who knows?
Well, I think establishing a good energy and like doing a clean slate after everyone, I'm sure it gets exhausting if you're in that room all day, but it's just, it feels like the kindest and fairest thing to do, just so we're not bringing in bad vibes for like you had nothing to do with that audition.
Yeah.
Like
And that just like brings down your energy and what you're trying to show. So that's a bummer.
Well,
I love a good self-tape though. I can handle that.
oh my gosh. Yeah. I didn't do many of those this pandemic just because me personally, I just feel like I do much better in person with people, feeling the vibes. But, you know, you got to do a self-tape. You got to do it, especially right now. Mm-hmm. But, all right, let's finally get into our topic of discussion, which is navigating the performing life during this pandemic as a performing artist or any artist. If all artists, like this goes to any sort of artist, whether you are an actual artiste, like actually drawing stuff, or you are, I don't know, graffitiing, or if you are playing the guitar. Frenchman Street, y'all, if you're not from New Orleans, it's a well-known street. Not Bourbon Street, but it's like next to Bourbon.
It's like the locals Bourbon
It's the
Street,
locals
perhaps.
Bourbon Street with a lot more music, but it's still, I feel like it's becoming another Bourbon Street, honestly. Bourbon Street is now like Times Square in New York. That's like what the Bourbon Street is to New Orleans.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because it's just a lot of cover bands. Anyway, let me get back on topic. No, it's actually still part of the subject matter because there's a lot of artists on those streets trying to, you know, get their stuff together and, you know, still trying to navigate this life. And I know for them right now, especially at least at the time of this taping, we just found out that Jazz Fest, which is probably the most popular festival here in the city, they were already moving it back to October, which is normally in April of every year. Or the last weekends in April going into May. And they tried moving it back to October and then they just canceled it. So now we don't have Jazz Fest, which was also a really great time for a lot of the artists, musicians, singers, and even just like crafty artists that want to come out and, you know, set up shop to sell their items. Now they are without work at that time. And
I think they are still getting paid. I could
that's
be
good.
incorrect.
I didn't know that.
but I believe they are.
Okay.
Which is cool, which is very cool.
That's nice. Yeah.
experience-
New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation has
That's awesome.
lot
so
of-
that made my heart happy.
good. Yeah. Well,
But the experience is a fun one, and so it's a bummer we can't have it.
yeah, that's okay. I was never really a big Jazz Fest fan anyway, but you know, I still vouch for the artists because I know how hard it is.
Yeah.
So
I think they canceled Buku Fest too, which is not the same thing as Jazz Fest. But yeah, I think they are making decisions to cancel.
I think it's great. I think
But-
personally, it's a great decision.
Absolutely. I'm in support of that as well, for sure.
So while I'm talking to you, we had started this discussion a little bit a couple of months ago when you moved back. Now I don't recall all the details, but I think that's why I wanted to have you on the podcast so that we can kind of maybe continue what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Because there was, and I know before we started rolling, you mentioned having anxiety and like, you know, just, and I feel that because I'm like literally this, I'm the same in terms of like, as I was saying with MJ, like I literally like, I was really transparent and just saying, especially at that moment, I was like, I'm not feeling well. I'm not like mentally, I'm just not there. And I don't know what I'm gonna say. I don't know what I'm gonna do, da, da, da. But like, I just try my best to keep it transparent, no matter if, cause I'd rather tell somebody than not tell anybody. So I first off wanted to say thank you for saying that. I want to thank you for like feeling honest enough to like, let me know how you're feeling.
Yeah.
But I think it's important because I feel like a lot of artists are also anxious and just wanting to get back to a normal and not knowing what to do, not wanting to like, just not necessarily having a plan on maybe what they want to do, maybe for the rest of their lives or like in terms of art. It's changing, especially with the pandemic. You had a lot of time to think. You have a lot of time to like reroute and figure out, okay, maybe this isn't working. Now that you finally stop, you can be like, okay, so where do I start again? Anyway. Wanted to talk about that a little bit. I want to see if you want to add anything to what you said or just talk it out for a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, thank you for receiving my anxiety about things and life. I mean, everything that you said about kind of being unsure if the way that you want to proceed is the same for you now that we've kind of had a pause on things, like really resonated with me. And when we talked about that, whenever that was, several months ago, I don't time.
What is time?
Well, I don't
What
know.
is it?
I'm
I
not
don't
sure. It just it's very interesting, and you know, I feel like we did talk about this, but I'm not grateful for all the horrible things that COVID has brought and all the horrible things. We'll just leave it at that. But I am grateful to have gotten a time to just have a pause to evaluate what I was doing. And like I said, like March of 2020, I was in LA working at 2 restaurants, you know, making ends meet. But I think that was really unenjoyable for me. And I think I was staying in the audition grind, you know, working with a representative out in LA and doing creative things when I could, but I don't even know if I was even assessing if I was enjoying it anymore. And it was more so like anytime I would get an audition, I just had so much anxiety about like, well, how am I going to do this audition? Like I have all of these shifts and then like shifts at the restaurant. And then I guess upon taking the pause, realized that I hadn't even thought about whether I was enjoying the way I was pursuing art in a really long time. Yeah. And it was just like the thing to do.
You feel like it was like a routine. Like you're like, this is kind of like how a lot of us get when in terms of like trying to get to a certain goal. You see other people doing it this way. So you're like, oh, I have to do it this way. Or you're doing it and you just like, after a while, it's like redundant or just like repetitive and you don't actually enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool.
I
empathize.
Yeah, I mean it's tricky, right? I think it's hard to understand where you like for me, I feel like I am realizing I've realized a lot of things, as we all are in this weird time. But I think part of me like staying in doing like artistic pursuits the same way that I have for many, many years is because I felt like I had to, and it was I don't think it was a conscious thing that I was doing it that way, but it was like, oh, well, I studied theater in college, and then I did an acting grad program, and then, you have to do it this way. You have to prove to the world and your parents and blah, 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 all these people that like meant what you said.
You're utilizing your degree to an extent.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm taking my ponytail down because I feel like this is a type of conversation that we don't need to have our ponytails up.
Sure. There we go.
Yeah. So would you say, okay, so when you let's go back to like little Claire, like baby Claire, and what about also little baby MJ? Let's get you into this conversation. So when you first figured out creatively wise that you might want to act, what was that inspiration? Like, did you have a actor that was like, "Ooh, I want to be like this person," or were you like, acting and like creating plays and just like performing them for your families or something? Like, what do you find that there was like one pivotal moment within your childhood that said, yo, I could do this? Or like, yo, like I love to create, I love to imagine, do you have that?
I know like my brothers and I would put on shows for my parents, and we like to do that. We like to do dress up, and like Mardi Gras was always really fun, and figuring out your costumes. Like, yeah, I always loved stories and putting on shows. Mm-hmm. I don't have one specific moment where I'm like, this was the moment I knew I was going to be a performer. But I know that I really loved that, and I just kind of continue to do it. And I remember, like the 4th grade play, and I got to play Mama number 2, and that was really fun. And and I just like it just went on from there, and I just enjoyed it.
Did you have like a feeling that was like, this is where I'm supposed to be? Or like, do you feel like a sense of security or a sense of like being at home when you're like performing or like acting or?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was a different way to utilize my voice that I felt like I hadn't found before. I remember taking voice lessons in middle school and then like doing the performance and feeling like it was really cool to, I don't know, to use my voice in a different way, I guess. I don't remember if I probably couldn't have verbalized it at that point, but I think that was the feeling that I remember having.
Cool. Awesome.
So,
yeah.
What
about you, MJ? Did you have like a pivotal moment in your childhood that you were like, I love to imagine and I want to maybe do this, be actor, not even be an actor, but just like, yeah.
I think, I was a very shy, almost introverted child. I'm kind of an extroverted intuitive, but I was a very shy child, very quiet child, and I had a very overactive imagination. And so I came alive in my own head. Like in the privacy of my own head, a lot was going on. But I was just very fearful about just kind of expressing myself. I never really felt safe, like I was able to do so. And I remember in 5th grade, I was in choir class, in music class, and we were singing. And I've always had a little bit of a tune. And we were singing a song. Vocals,
Yeah.
We were singing, and my voice was always deeper. I guess that's the whole thing. I was very tall, gangly, had a very deep voice. They thought I was 13 in the 5th grade. It sucked. But I was singing, and I was singing very well, I suppose. But they said, stop. Who was that singing? And it was me. And
it's like a Oh Happy Day moment from Sister Act 2.
It was literally a Oh Happy Day moment. That song may have been sung that day. But I remember we would do like little dance recitals, and we would, we weren't doing like plays. We weren't doing actual plays. We were singing and performing on stage. And I remember there were moments when I was like center stage, and even if I was getting it wrong, I was like they would be moving left, I would be moving right, and I kind of made myself the star of the moment. Right. And I just really came alive whenever I was performing. I've always been like, at that time, I'd always been very envious of like child stars and seeing people create and sing and do music videos.
Yeah.
And I just wandered onto the stage, and I realized as an actor, I got to be everything and anyone. And it was a safe place to process my emotions, process my feelings, kind of challenge and see what the world could look like. Because that's one of my favorite things about acting. It's interpreting the human experience and creating a space for questions, but also for people to kind of gauge answers. So I fell in love with performance, I guess, in 5th grade, and it just kind of ebbed and flowed and slowly found its way back into my life when I was in college.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. No, my experience, I feel like I may have mentioned this on the podcast before, but my memory, what is it? What is time? I don't know. I think one of the pivotal moments was before I even realized what I wanted to do. And I think it was kind of very much like MJ, where like I love to watch a lot of child stars perform growing up. Like I watched Mickey Mouse Club. I like to watch like Zoom and just like kids just like be kids. But another thing I used to watch was the movie Annie. With,
Me too.
And I was like, I was too young at the time to realize it, but like I was telling my parents I wanted to be an orphan instead of like saying I want to be I want to be a performer like the kids on, like I didn't know how to like mention that, so I was telling my parents I want to be an orphan, and they were like,
excuse me?
Yeah, I couldn't verbalize exactly what I was trying to say. So yeah, that's when I kind of knew. I was like, that's where I want to be. Like I want to just. And even when I was like younger, like passing through like some of the orphanages in like New Orleans or whatever, I would always think like they were having so much fun in there. I was like, they're probably like, dancing on top of like tables and, bouncing around on their beds and like, playing pillow fights as they did in the movie. But, who knows? So yeah, that's my story. And I think that's why I've always wanted to. And okay, hold on, I'm gonna say this too. One of the other things I like to watch these days, just to kind of get myself back into that childhood mindset in terms of like imagination and everything, I really like to watch, and I feel like everybody on my social media at least knows this already, because sometimes I'll be on there and I'll just like be like, I'm watching it again. But I like to watch Fantasmic, the show that they do at Universal Studios with Mickey Mouse. It's like the water show and like everything, but it's like very nostalgic, and it has like all of the Disney movies, like the popular ones, and I don't know, I just cry every single time and I want to go back and watch it. But no, literally there's something about the science of the music and like the way that they just do that whole show. Every time it just like catches me every time, and I just start bawling. Because then I'm thinking about like my childhood, and I'm thinking about like the Mickey Mouse, and like anyway. So anyway, that was that. Thank y'all for answering those questions. Let's get to the next one. So this is a good one. How are you both feeling about the overall trajectory of your artistic career at the present moment, and how has COVID affected that? Claire's like,
ooh. That's a hard-hitting question. Well, I was anxiety texting you before we were doing this, being like, I don't know the answer to that question. I don't think I know exactly how I feel about my autistic career. I think currently, and this might change tomorrow, I like to preface all of my answers these days with like, this is how I feel in this present moment, and it might change in 2 seconds. I think that I am realizing that I have put so much pressure on like the concept of being an artist and like supporting myself financially as an artist, that has, or like that as being my goal, that has put so much pressure on it. So I think where I am now is I am trying to figure out how to be creative and how to be an artist without having it be my sole form of income, and perhaps that will like allow it to be a more freestanding experience for me. So in terms of overall trajectory of my artistic career, I don't know. I think maybe I'm shifting more towards like maybe that will be a side thing. And I also am now thinking about how I'm like, I hate how everything has to be about money and how I'm still hurting myself financially and like capitalism. Yeah. All of the things. But yeah, I think I am realizing I put so much pressure on things financially supporting yourself as an artist, it just all gets boggled down. So I'm trying to figure out how to make it maybe more of like a side thing in my life to have it be a freer experience.
Yeah. That's a great answer. Okay, I know you don't know. You said you don't know anything. That's a great answer. That's great.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that.
No, you're welcome. You're doing great. You're doing great.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. All right, MJ. How do you feel? How do you feel about your trajectory right now?
Oh my gosh, it's still the dream job.
Yeah.
My day job is in education. I work with kids, and I love it. I love children. Before the pandemic happened, I was slow. Like, I booked a project. I had been in acting classes, taking a break, and I was ready to creep back in. And then the world went on lockdown. And so I took that time to take care of myself, grow myself up, get comfortable in my own skin instead of trying to put on somebody else's. And quite honestly, the want, the need, the desire, the dream of it, it's still there. I think more than anything right now, it's all about making the fantasy a reality and just making it more tangible. I always call it getting rid of the wants.
Yeah.
And maybe not being so desperate for it at the same time, because it's such a slow ebb and flow process. And whether it's combing through Actors Access or, different casting notifications, I might see 6 things that I can attach myself to and then 25 things for somebody else. And so that can kind of play with your head when you feel like, okay, the region, the area that I'm in, it's lacking when it comes to like me.
That's a whole nother episode.
Stories for me. It's a whole different episode. But it's like, I can't let that bother me or stress me. All I can do is do the work, whether it's buying equipment, being in classes, taking up on training, updating resumes, headshots, and honestly just focusing a little bit, not just on the day job, but just giving acting, giving theater, giving being artistic a chance to be its own thing. And that's something that makes me desperate, or makes me stress, or elevates my anxiety, because it will do that. Especially, I can get caught in the comparison trap and be like, oh, I see them working and doing stuff. What? Why wasn't I invited? I can get a little envious. I want to emanate it sometimes, but it's still a want, still a dream, still something I'm gunning for and fighting for. But it's not going to be something that I let overtake me. It's not allowed to.
Ooh, that's good.
That's amazing.
Yes, yeah, that's wonderful. Especially that's the kind of mindset I want.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, because the want's not going anywhere. Because I've done, I remember I wanted to be in theater when I went to college, but someone said, you need a stable foundation. You're pretty and you speak well. Be in broadcasting. And so I was in broadcasting for like 3 years. And I was competent, but it wasn't meant to be. And so God quickly pulled that out of my life. And next thing I knew, I found myself in film, which was a huge win, because I found myself writing scripts, playing around with producer roles, and being a production assistant and learning behind the scenes. I would have never gifted myself that experience, had, everything else fallen apart, to see what could fall into place. And so I have the capacity to be creative. And also, you don't want to be, like, as an actor, it's so easy to want to wait for the phone call or comb the castings, but you really do have to create your own opportunity.
Hey.
And that's the mindset. That's the thing I really want to start walking in and navigating in. Issa Rae, Tyler Perry, everybody, they taught us something, which is you can create your own work, create your own way, and you don't have to wait for somebody to say, you've got it all together now. And so I have to remind myself of that more and more.
I love that. I wrote it down because I'm probably going to put that on a t-shirt and quote you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm going to copyright that.
Yes, yeah, copyright it. So I think we just talked about that. You talk about balancing your other jobs with the artistic career. Mm-hmm. So let's go on to the next one then. Scratch it out. All right. So how do you manage your mental health?
That's a great question. Wow. Therapy is helpful, I think.
Therapy is always helpful.
And being kind to yourself, especially when you're having a rough time. I think for me, I'm now thinking back on like our conversation that we had, whenever that was, about, I guess this ties into what you were saying too, MJ, where, you can separate the, like, your creative self and your concept of like, you're an artist, you're this, you're that, and understand, at least this is helpful for me, to understand that like I have worth as a person aside from just whatever like creative things I put out into the world.
Yes.
And I do like have to remind myself of that a lot. Especially when it's like, you know, what you're talking about, like the comparison trap where it's like, well, they're booking and doing all these things and I'm not doing it. And, you know, it makes you feel sad and like, oh, maybe I'm not doing enough, or maybe I don't have enough to be out here or survive as a creative in the world. But I think, yeah, the constant reminder to yourself, if you're able to just know that you're enough, just being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you find that, at least with others, people still see you for yourself versus like what they, I guess, how can I explain this best? Because I know, especially when I was like really in the thick of doing shows I often felt like most people would only approach me when they wanted something from me artistically, instead of like just actually coming up to see actually how I was doing and stuff. Did you find that that was going on within your circle of people that you know at all, or did you have like a nice balance of?
That is an interesting question. I think I experienced a little bit of that. But I'm not sure. I don't know. That's a very good question.
That's a good answer. I don't know. That's an answer too.
I don't know. I think I'm gonna think on that.
Yeah,
because I'm not sure.
I always try to ask the questions that might be hard to answer. So let's see if MJ has an answer to that.
Help me out with the question one more time.
So basically, first off, how do you manage your mental health? And I posed this question to Claire, but the people that you interact with like on a daily, or let's say you're like in the thick of like doing a lot of projects, and you know, and which is good. Like people are coming up to you to ask you if you can do another one. You know, so you're getting booked. But is there any point in that time where those same people are just wanting to get to know who you are as a person, or are they just looking at you as, oh, they can make me money?
Oh, oh my goodness. Oh, if you think I can make you money, call me. But honestly, the first answer I have as far as how do I manage my mental health, one good thing about, I've been on a journey even before the pandemic happened. 2019, December 31st, I did like a whole, plan for the following year. And I was like, okay, for 2020, I'm going to like work on my mental health, buy a nice watch. I'm going to go to therapy, update my fashion sense, and get my life together. I had like I call it the Apollo goals, because Apollo's the god of many things. So I was like, I'm going to have these Apollo goals for myself. And I didn't know how I was going to make it happen. And next thing I knew, a whole pandemic happened. And I was at home for a very long time, getting antsy. And what's weird is I had started acting classes at that time, took in a break, did Krav Maga. I had been slowly kind of going out, getting comfortable in my extroversion, and then I'm forced to be at home. But that did not stop a man like me. So I started doing like at-home fitness training. Shout out to Terry, thank you.
Hey.
I definitely did do therapy, which was a godsend because there was a lot of stuff that was going to come up later on that I was going to need that healthy sense of self. And so I'm happy that I got to work things out and talk to a counselor.
Come on, all of us being self-aware millennials.
Yes.
All right, keep going. Sorry, I just did that.
Good. But yeah, I mean, that was, I think, taking my fitness, my diet, getting comfortable with myself, and also cultivating healthy goals, and like instead of being envious of the next man, actually working to become that man for myself. Yeah. That has been like the best experience to kind of get to know this new version of me. That way, I mean, that version is going to prepare me for the next version, and so I'd say.
Ooh, I like how you. I like that. Cause you realize like once you get to hold on, I just want to name that because I like knowing that what you said, like you're one version now, you're going to be another version. It's like you're not going to stop evolving.
No.
And so I was sorry, I had to name that. That was a word. I'm gonna write that one down.
I mean,
put it on the back of the shirt.
Yeah,
that on the front, and then put
the sayings of MJ.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, for the dreams and goals that I want, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna have to become more. Yeah. I'm not one of those people where, and I don't know what anybody else could say, but I'm not the type of person where just good things tend to happen very easily. I'm not always the lucky one. I tend to have to work, and it tends to take time. And even with acting, there's a lot of training involved. There's a lot of learning how to market and brand yourself. When it comes to social media, I am hella introverted. I might post a picture and enjoy seeing the likes from time to time, but I am not one to like necessarily always put myself out there. I feel very comfortable in a community or in a collaborative type of setting. And so learning to just kind of, I mean, that's still something that I'm learning as well, but learning to cultivate my own change and, you know, try and become a better version of myself, that's assisting me a lot with my mental health. Just learning to be at peace with myself. I had no choice but to learn that during this pandemic. I would have been a nervous wreck at home. And as far as people needing and wanting things, I'm needing and wanting things. That's partially a joke. I really have never stopped being hungry for wanting to like act. There was some stuff that was put on hold and stuff that was literally shot to hell when the pandemic happened. And so I'm like, okay, I book a lead and it's over. It's dead. I can't even say the character was mine. Don't even get to put it on the resume. Even the web series I'm a part of, Culture Deep, they had to go on hold for a few months. I'm like, okay, it's gonna be on hold. At least I know I got it. Hopefully I still have it. But it's like, no. I mean, I will say this: there's a distinct difference between like friends in the industry. I mean, you need friends no matter what.
Yeah.
But sometimes people who are also creative, like we do get this weird mindset of, oh, you're an actor, I'm an actor. You're a director, you're a writer. Let's produce something. Let's write something. And so our friendship, the romance of it is all based around creating a film or creating an opportunity. And it's like we never really give ourselves the chance to like to actually learn each other and figure out if we really like each other, if our communication styles, our life goals, our values are even like connected in any way. And so I'm lucky enough to have like a very small, quaint, but really cool, healthy circle of friends. A few who are creative, a few who are creative adjacent. Who really support me. Yeah, they're creative adjacent. They're not, I'm trying to do this like if fame is a product of success, I want it. Like I want to be a successful actor. I want to work and live off of it. I don't think I'm wanting too much. Other people are like, you know, they have a mixed bag of talents, or they're okay with doing things creatively on the side. But they're really supportive. And so I'm happy that I have that small community that I've gotten to see grow and mature. And hopefully it gets to continue to grow and mature.
Yeah. So. I like that. I like what you said about just like making sure everybody is compatible with you, which we kind of skip over more as adults because we're like, ooh, opportunity. But I think the best imagery I can think of or like experience I can come from when it comes to this and like make sure that you have the right people around you, or at least people that just easily mesh with you. It's like thinking about like, I don't know, like when you were a child in a sandbox with like other kids and like, you know, how you're just there. Like, it's not like there's no motive or anything. And you finally just to see like what these kids do or like what you're doing with these other people naturally with no expectation or anything.
You might work together well on a set. And when you think about like whether it's a commercial or a film or a stage project, it's such a short life. Like you literally go through a lot of emotions and experiences physically, emotionally, mentally. But it's such a short shelf life of time. And so you connect really quickly. I think most creative people, like, we love good energy. We love having a positive experience. We love being in our element. And you think, oh my gosh, this person loves it too. We're in this is the right seasons, the right people. These are my people for life. They are for the life of that project.
Exactly.
And then if you're lucky, you might see them again on Facebook or on the street. Maybe you get to work together again. But it's a weird mind F to a certain degree, like trying to connect and build connections within the industry, because in the heat of the moment, it does feel right, but does it get to last long? And does it have to, you know?
Right, exactly. Ugh.
Well, and I think it's also because a lot of the time those timelines are like, we're on set 12 hours a day. Like, that's not even a normal, like, work wife or husband or whatever, you know, you want to call them. Because, like, what other industry is there where you're like, oh, suddenly I'm with you 12 hours a day for 5 weeks, and then maybe not again.
Yeah.
It's like a very
it's
smushing people together.
Yeah, and I don't know, for some reason the first thing I can think of is in terms of not really film, but like theater, stage. It's like when people like get together or like start relationships when they're doing shows, and then like the show is over and it's like, okay, now what? You know, I don't know, but I honestly, I actually, you know what? I can't speak.
That's why it's a romance. It feels good. It's like, oh, we're in our element. You're attractive. I'm attractive. We're all cool people. We like the same thing. It's all those healthy endorphins are coming together, and it's like, oh, this is good. Is it forever?
Right.
Hopefully. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So before we wrap up a little bit, I have like one more question. So just because we're kind of on the subject of this, but what safety protocols that are currently being followed due to COVID-19 do you feel will not change once the pandemic is over? If there are any safety protocols at all in terms of acting, like we're doing a lot of self-tapes, we're doing a lot of, like making sure everyone is temperature checked before they come into a space and all that. Like, what do you think will probably survive after this is all over? Do y'all have anything?
More hand washing, continued use of sanitizer. I don't know. I feel like the hand washing thing is pretty big. I'm here for that. For that. Will they continue with the temperature checking? I don't know. Probably not.
You think if like someone's sick on set or something, do you think that they will have to send them home?
That's a
do you
good
think that
question.
They will? Yeah.
I guess we'll kind of have to see though, like how all the variants play out too, and like what happens after Delta. Like what's the next letter in the alphabet, and how bad is it gonna be?
What is the next letter in the alphabet? There's E, but what does E stand for? Epsilon.
Epsilon.
I don't know what that.
I don't know. Sorry, that got dark. But what do you think, MJ?
What do I think? Well, I mean, I think there's going to be a huge push for people to get vaccinated. I'm not going to lie. I think that we're going to want to have that peace of mind on set. And I think, there's a possibility of course, continued mask mandates. Sanitizer is everybody's safety net. That's everyone's weapon of choice to kind of like be protected. We'll just have to see. I mean, as of right now, my biggest thing is professionalism. I want to hear someone say, hey, have you been COVID tested? Are you prepared for a COVID test? I had someone ask me that for a project last week. Like, are you willing to come in and get tested? And then
I love
I'm
that.
like, sure, of course. I want you to like consider my health, consider everybody else's health. I don't want anybody to be lax about it. And a lot of times with independent or even small projects, I mean, if you have the luxury of being within your own community where you know and connect with each other easily, that's great. Be in your own little hub. But just casually walking into like random spaces, I'm not so quick to do that right now.
Yeah.
Like I saw something that was in another state, and then I probably could have booked it, but I was like, you know what? I don't know these people. I don't trust these people. They ain't asking enough of the right questions. And I hate to walk away, but I got to walk away just because, I want to have that peace of mind walking in.
Well, I think it feels like the film industry this is like a big generalization, but like more so like a community-based mind, or at least that's what we hope it will be. And so I hope that they do continue to approach things from that way, where it's like they are talking about it. And like in that project, that's a bummer that they weren't like, here's what we're doing to deal with the global pandemic that's raging through the world right now.
Yeah. And honestly, I'm like, what was the project? No, it's not really. I just want to feel safe and at peace. And I want to get all the things that I thought 2020 was going to be before Rona showed up. I want to have a healthy, normal, like, acting experience. I mean, the mask and stuff is going to be a part of the narrative for a while, but, and I think people are trying to get better. And most of the film sets that I have heard about have gotten better with just, like, check-in and being aware and even stalling if they need to. And so.
That's good. Yeah. I've only done a few film or set things for during the pandemic, but everyone I've been on has been pretty safe about it. So,
Yeah.
You get paid to get COVID tests? What?
Yeah. And a lot of self-tapes, I'm betting. It's probably going to open the door up for people out of state who probably have never, like maybe wouldn't consider, hold up, they're booking something in Minnesota, Georgia, Florida, California. Like, self-tapes are probably going to open the door up to a lot more people.
Yeah.
Maybe get more national work out of state. And, I did a couple of Zoom projects too, which is fun, like doing a Zoom read-in or like a Zoom play.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun.
I've seen a lot of people getting into voiceover work too.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a big one right now.
I've kind of gotten into that a little bit.
I mean,
you can do it from home.
Podcasting is kind of voiceover.
It
work,
absolutely
right?
is.
I mean, just,
Yeah.
just start talking a little different and, I can probably just start practicing my voiceovering by just like speaking in different ways as I talk.
You'd be great at it.
So let's try wrapping up.
All right.
Let's wrap up. What advice would you give artists who are unable to find inspiration to audition or write or draw or whatever their trade is? What would you tell them?
What would I say to someone who needs a little inspiration, a little drive? I would say, steal from the best. That sounds really random, but there are artists, there are already people who've done it really well, who you probably want to emulate, who you'd be like, man, I want to experience something like that. Look at what worked for them. Do a little personal study. Do your own little research session. And then just try different things. Give yourself grace. It takes time to learn and do well in anything. We don't know what the world's going to look like the next couple of weeks, months, years. But
Hours.
Yeah, hours. I would say just steal from the best. Figure out who the greats are that you love or you want to emulate. And see what works for you. See what fits well. Learn yourself. Learn your craft. And give yourself grace and enough time to learn it. Because you have nothing but time. Even, what is time? But just like sand falling through an hourglass. Just
Exactly.
live your life. Try it out.
That's
I
great.
love it.
What advice do I have? Well, what I would say, maybe think a little bit about like what draws you to that particular art form, like what sparks the little bit of joy that you do have, and then maybe just focus on that thing. I don't know, sometimes for me it's helpful to just watch TikToks of people drawing.
Oh,
I like that. That kind of makes
Yeah.
my heart happy. So sometimes I do that.
yeah.
Or listen to a song that like really ramps you up. Is that a term? Ramps you up? I don't know.
I understand it.
But
I don't-
sometimes you just want to listen to a song and jam out. There you go.
Okay, cool. I think for me, advice I would give artists who aren't able to find inspiration. It's funny because I'm like basically talking to myself because I was the artist that could not find inspiration up until I changed my medication. Now I have the inspiration again.
Yay.
Good.
So, not saying that everyone needs to get medicated to find their inspiration, but
Take care of yourself.
make sure you're taking care of yourself. You know when you're not yourself. I feel like I should be talking into the camera right now because this is very important. But yeah, no, you don't have to be medicated. You don't have to be medicated in order to find yourself. But for me, I have to be medicated right now, which is fine. But if you don't have to be medicated, I would say that you should definitely, kind of like what Claire said, find what inspires you. I know for me, it was like, I guess growing up, I liked listening. One of the things I really liked was listening to 80s music. I was born in 91, but like, I was born in the wrong generation. I was wrong. I was supposed to be in the 80s just because I like the music. I like the vibe. And nowadays when like, especially these indie artists that are like out on Spotify and stuff, like they are definitely emulating a lot of that these days with the synthesizers. Oh, however you say it.
Synthesizers? I don't know.
The synths.
Yeah.
And I just gravitate towards that. So even like in the music that I create, it very much kind of emulates that in some sort of way. But find what you like. Find what works for you. That was basically what Claire just said. But anyway. So I want to thank Claire and MJ for joining me in this discussion. I really appreciate it. Y'all are the best.
Thank you for having us.
You're so welcome. So everybody, if you are feeling this chat, if you were feeling it and would like to continue enjoying episodes like this in the future, and let me do that one more time. I'm gonna do that one more time. If you were feeling this chat and you would like to continue enjoying episodes like this in the future, Consider joining the Self-Aware Millennials Patreon. For $5 a month, you can access another realm of insight and goodies that is not present on the main platform. This includes, but is not limited to, free merch, bonus episodes, behind the scenes footage, and personal self-reflection blogs that I absolutely have no intention of sharing with the general public. So if that is not a reason for you to get $5, I don't know what is. So join today by visiting www.patreon.com/theselfawaremillennial. Again, that's www.patreon.com/theselfawaremillennial. Now we are going to practice our voiceover situations, which voiceovers can be characteristic, or it can be something as simple as reading an end roll, or what is it called? A end roll of
End credits?
The end credits. So I've asked Claire to try it out, and we're gonna let y'all know the end credits through Claire. So all right, Claire, let's go. It is your time to shine.
This episode of The Self-Aware Millennial was produced by J.Mix, with audio engineering and editing by Theo Fogleman, video recording and editing by Lamon Anthony. Once again, special thanks to Baldwin & Company for hosting us for this week's episode. Till next time, thanks for listening. I'm not J.Mix, but I'll see you next week.
Yay!
All right. An audible tape near you. An audible book near you.
Yeah.
That's good.
That was great. I love it.
Hooray!
Yay!
Did it feel good? Did it sound right? Did you cry hearing my voice?
Sweet. That was wonderful, y'all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Look,
guys.
Look at this. Look at what you created. Look at this moment.
You did it.
Thank you.
Wow.
You did this. All of you did this.